So I'm going to put the poly panels on the roof now, and I've got the closures all painted. So how this is working is these are going to go up on this ledger board just like this. Now I had footage of how I did the closures up there on the top against the shed, but for some reason it was really blurry, so I'm just going to shoot it real quick again. Now I couldn't get down in there to screw the closure down this way, so all I did was I just tacked them with my nail gun just right against that trim that I've got up there, and it worked out perfectly fine. Now the reason I didn't start out here, because if I did that, then it wouldn't have fallen, the poly panel wouldn't have fallen at the 2 foot mark on a rafter, because this was only 1 foot out, which cantilevered over. So I'm putting it here, starting it here, then going to the 2 foot mark, the next one 2 foot mark. Then when I'm done, I'll go back and do these outside pieces. I'll have to rip one of these panels this way, which is okay. So I've got my upper ones done and my middle ones, and now I'm just doing these here. Now I'm not nailing every valley, because this is where I'm going to put my screws, and I'm kind of setting the nails offset a little bit. That way I won't hit them with my screws. And the screws are going to actually hold these on also, because I have 1-inch screws, and this is only like a 1/2 inch or so. Okay, so here's what I've decided to do. Since I'm not going to fiddle around with trying to get in here and put screws in here with a ratchet or anything like that, I've decided that I'm just going to put this here across like this, push it down tight like this, and then just nail that right in there like that. And that's going to hold it perfectly fine. That'll hold it just as tight as screws will, I think. Oh yeah, look at that. Yep, that's going to work perfectly fine. All right, put the next one in, then pull it down and keep going. Okay, so this is the west wall that's going to have the door right here. And I cut this bottom plate at 50.5 inches because I'm going to have 2 stacks of windows, one here and one here. And I'm going to cut a stud. Now each of these studs are 31.5 inches, just like they are with these studs on that south wall. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to cut a stud here that's going to be one of the braces for the door. So one's going to be on top of this plate, and one is going to be on the bottom plate. So the way I'm going to do this is, so I'm going to take it like this and try to get an eyeball on this. So I'm just kind of holding it here, and this is going to be a guess. Like this. So I've got an angle here that I'm going to cut, and hopefully this is going to turn out correctly. So let's take a look here. Wow, that's a pretty good fit. Let me show you. Look at that. That's a pretty good fit right there. Okay, there's the 4 windows for this side. So next I'm going to put a 2x4 in here, up about 6 foot 4 inches or so and go across. And I'll put 2 pieces of 2x4 here, kind of make a, kind of a mini header. And then, so I'll have a double blocking here, double blocking here. I'll put another one here. This here, I'm just going to fill in with plywood. So I'm going to hold the piece of plywood up the back here and then just trace it. And then just put it inside here and put like, staple trim around it here and then just paint it and it'll look just fine. I'll do the same for the other side over there. It's coming along. Okay, so I've got the door frame done. I ran another piece, another 2x4 here and another one there. So I've got a double and a double to be able to put my hinge on. I think it's going to open, the hinge is going to be on that side. And then for the header, I just laid 2 down instead of 2 up like this. I just laid 2 flat. It's going to be fine. And then I went and finished this off. I just put the plywood up here and then from the inside traced it, cut it out, and then put just some pieces of trim on the inside to staple it to. I got some, well, they're nice big 1.5-inch brad nails. And I did the same here and then just painted it. Okay, so what I'm going to do for inside here on the wall side, you'll notice that the closures kind of lifted it up a little bit. So I'm just going to take some painted trim, put it along here and in here, each section, and then just put on top of it what's called butyl tape. It's for edging on roofs like this. And it's just a really soft material that lays along the top of it. And I'll show you that. And then on the inside here, on the east wall, I just patched in some plywood. I just have to paint that. And then at the top, I'm doing the same thing. I got some trim here and just put some, this trimming here and then just plywood. I got to finish it off there. And one thing that I did that I didn't mention is that when I put the rafters on, I actually beveled them when they went up against that ledger board. So they weren't just straight. I beveled them on both ends. This here is that butyl tape I was telling you about. See, it's a caulking is what it is. And it just sits right on top of that trim. And then when you screw your plastic down, this just kind of like squishes. So it almost acts like a side closure is what it is. But it's really good stuff. Okay, and then on the front, this is overhanging quite a bit. But I haven't put my trim on here yet. So I need to do that. And then after I get that trim on, then I'll decide how far over I want this to hang. So I finished off a little bit of the trim here on the shed. I did not show putting this on, but it's easy. It's a walk in the park. It's just 1x4. I just painted 1x4 cedar and then just tacked it up and did some bevel cuts and went around the building. What it basically does, it just ties in everything where, you've got gaps with the soffit that didn't, the T111 didn't match the soffit and stuff. So it just tightens it all up and makes it look nice. So it just buttons it up so critters don't get in. I put a fascia up there, but that's going to I need to cut that metal all the way down their edge and then put my metal on top of that, my roofing metal. And then that is going to finish off the trim and the roof. So I'm guessing probably some people are wondering why I have this overhang right here and why I'm leaving a little bit of this overhang. Well, the thing is that even though this is completely painted with outdoor paint, I want to keep as much rain off of the greenhouse as possible. So this overhang here, I can just put this flashing on it, and then this here overhang, it just keeps the water off the wood. And so even though it's outdoor paint, it still could penetrate the wood. It will eventually, and I just want to prevent that. Okay, so the last thing that I'm going to do for support, I'm going to put a 2x4, a painted 2x4 from the ground or from the 4x4 on the bottom all the way up to just under this truss. And what that's doing is that's creating one solid piece. See these two walls, there's one like this and there's one sitting on top of it. And it could conceivably, if something heavy was to hit this, it could conceivably kind of do this. Now when I push on this, there's no give at all. And I probably don't need the supports, but it's just, because they're screwed in, double screws in each post, so it makes a solid wall. But I'm doing it just for just for caution. So I'm going to put one here, and I'm going to put one, 2 posts down on that one there, and then I'm going to put one on each side here. But when I put it on this one, I'm going to use a 2x3 because I don't want it to interfere with this window, because this window is going to be an opener. And so I need to probably make it a 2x3. That way I don't want to straddle this stud. I want to run right along the edge here so that I can still open this window. And so that's the last support, 4 2x4s.
Okay, so my door opening is 28 3/4 by 75. I want my door itself to be 28 1/4 by 74 1/2. So basically that gives me 1/4 of an inch all the way around clearance. And then this OSB is 27 by 73. So I'm looking at a little over 1/2 inch that this cedar fencing is going to extend over the OSB, because when I'm all done, I'm going to put a spline all the way around. So I'm going to cut like a 1/2 inch or so spline that I'm going to insert, so that when the door is done, you look at the edge and all you'll see is the cedar and you won't see the OSB at all.
This ended up being a hefty little door. I think that's going to work pretty good.
1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, just to raise it up a little bit.
I cannot believe how hot it is in here. Wow, feels like 100. It's only 68 outside. Okay. Don't let go of it, Tom. Hope I can get out of here. Okay, take these. Oh yeah. Wow, it actually worked out. Holy Toledo. This is the gravel that I had in the old greenhouse. So I'm bringing it in and going to spread it in here because it worked perfectly. And yep, I've got 2 of the tomatoes right there already. And check this out. It's October, what? I don't know. Almost, what's it, 18th, 19th? And I've got lots of little tomatoes. These are the Noah's grape. Lots of tomatoes on there already. So, whew, I had to get out of there. It was cranking hot in there. I think the next thing after I do this molding is to do the screens for the windows so I can get those open. So it's hard to tell where level is on the back. So I'm going to put this on the inside. That will let me know where to put my molding. And I'm putting that putty, that butyl tape, since I've got, let me get my hammer. I've got the butyl tape in here, and I'm just doubling it up. And so I'm using it as like a window putty. I'm gonna put it all the way around here because I have a whole roll. And then once I get this done, I'm gonna put a trim in here and button it up tight so that this window, I mean, there's no movement here. Up there still is, but here, there's no movement because of that butyl tape. And so I'm going to pack it in really good and then put my trim on all the way around, and then put a small one on the other side just to kind of make it look nice. Okay, so I am working on the shed doors. Now the first thing I did was remove this threshold here. This was the bottom plate for this wall, and I don't need it on there, so I took that out. I just cut it on both sides. And then I'm measuring, I'm going to have two doors here. So the width is 56.5. So that is 28.25 per door. So 28.25, and then I want to take off 1/4 of an inch on each side. So that leaves me 28.25. So that it leaves me 27.75. So the width of my door is going to be 27.75. And then the height is 77.5. So 1/4 on top and 1/4 on the bottom leaves me 77. So I need to have a door that is 77 by 27.75. So what I'm going to do is, I think, now on the other side over there, I did those doors and I used some nice T111 to make it match. But on this side here, this faces the woodshed. Nobody ever sees this side. So I'm just going to use whatever I have. And I have a scrap piece of OSB in here, and I've got junk in here already, so I can't get around. Actually, it's just mostly tools. So I'm going to go ahead and use this scrap OSB and see what else I have. It might not look the greatest, but once I get done painting it, it doesn't matter because nobody's going to really see this side. So I cut the uprights, and I've got 4 of these at 77. So 2 for one door, 2 for the other door. And now my cross pieces, I'm going to have 3 cross pieces. So I've got 6 of these at 20.75. So it's going to be 3 of these horizontal pieces for each door. So 20.75 plus 7 inches is 27.75. So it's going to be like this. Like that. And I'm going to have 3 of them here. Now I don't have a pocket hole jig, so I'm just going to do the best I can with what I have. And the reason I don't have a pocket hole jig is because I'm not into that proprietary stuff where you got to buy the jig, you got to buy the pocket hole screws, and then you're into all this money when you don't really have to do that. So I'm going to line these up like this. And would it be nicer with pocket holes? Yes, it would, but not that big of a deal. Okay. But I'm stubborn and I'm cheap. There's my pocket hole. And then I went down 37 inches here to start my middle piece. Just like that. Okay, so I've got one of the frames done, and I'm going to make another one exactly like it. And they are both 27 3/4 by 77 inches tall. Now I'm going to put my OSB on, and when I do that, I'm going to have two different sizes. I'm going to go the full 77 inches with the OSB, but on one of the doors, I'm going to come back an inch. So it's going to be 26 3/4. So the OSB will come to right about here. And then on the other door, it's going to overlap an inch. So it's going to be 28 3/4. So I'm coming in on one of the doors an inch and going over one of the doors an inch. And I'm just going to freehand this. It's a shed, right? Well, I'm getting low on glue. This is the one that's an inch over, 28 3/4. Okay, so this is door one. Now I know a lot of you people are going to say, Tom, you're supposed to give it a half an inch, all the way around, not a 1/4 inch. Well, you know what? I did a half an inch on those other doors over there, and I had a lot of room to spare. They were just, so worst come to worst, that if it starts to swell and it pinches, I can always take it off and run a skill saw, a circular saw, and take off a 1/4 inch if I have to, or just put it on the table saw, but I don't think so. So, okay, now, here's the reason I have an overlap on this one, because the next door is going to come like this, and this is going to be my stop right here. So the next one, the OSB is going to be in an inch. So this should line up pretty well. I don't know. But I can even make it a little bit smaller instead of an inch smaller, make it like 1.5 inches. That way it's not really close fit. I've got a little bit of gap between this and the other one. And so, because I've got plenty to spare. So I think I will do that. I think I'll make it a 1/2 inch smaller. So instead of 38, what was it, 38 and, or 38, 28 3/4, I'll make it 26 1/4. And that should do it. So, and I don't mind this OSB. It's, it doesn't match the T111, but this side is on the woodshed, so nobody's going to see this. So, I think that's going to be fine. Yeah. Looks good to me. Just don't look real close, because then you can see imperfections. But, all right. Door number 2. Okay, you know what? Call me crazy, but I try to be super frugal, and instead of cutting I have another piece of OSB, a full sheet, but I think I'm going to use scraps that I have laying around, and they're the same thickness, right? They're what, 1/2 inch or so. This one's already 77. Wait, yeah, that's 77 already, right? And this is 19 1/4. Okay, so if I put this on, And yes, I will have a seam, but I can take and rip 2 of these onto here, and I'll have a seam right here, but that seam, I can repair that. That's a walk in the park. I can even put, like on the inside, I could put a piece of, I could put a small strip of cedar right up here, and you'll see a seam, but I'm saving myself a whole piece of OSB. I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for the fact that this is on the woodshed side. So whoops. Yeah, and that's I probably have enough in this bottle to do this side here, but I'm not spreading it very well, but really this bottle is old. It's been sitting around for... Let's do this ugly door. Don't do this at home, guys. You'll never get hired for a construction project, that's for sure. When I get this all done and painted, it'll look like I bought this kit, which the sad thing is, this whole greenhouse shed was all formulated out of my brain. And it kind of came together as I was building it. And I didn't even have any plans. I just built the darn thing. So that's how I do most things, though. I think, you know, the reason why I don't use plans, like I don't draw up plans, because I'm not good at drawing up plans. Seriously, I can't sit down with a sheet of graph paper or something and lay it all out. I'm not good at that. And so that's why I always have to just start building and let it build itself. So 26.5, right? So 19.25. Oh, no, 26.25. So 7 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I need to cut 7-inch strips off of this. Gosh, I hope my math is right. What's the worst? What's the worst that could happen, right? Is that I end up having to actually cut that new piece anyway. So that would be par for me. That's about the way things go for me. So 7 inches. Okay. So I cut my 2 7-inch pieces, and I cut them so that it lands right in the center of this 2x4 right here. That way I can screw it down here on both ends. So the only piece I don't get screwed on is this center strip, but I'll take care of that when I put my cedar strip in there. All right. Next. So for the piece of cedar, I'm not going to go all the way down. I'm just going to come up about like 1.5 inches or so. And then I'm going to go all the way up to about 1.5 inches from the top. And that way I can screw it in 3 places. Here, here, and here. And that will keep the seam from not just show, not well it'll show, but it'll keep it from flexing. Okay. Okay, so I cut this 3-inch strip, and I cut it at 73 inches, and that gives me about 2 inches on each side. That way there's a little bit of clearance when I do my trim, my inside trim, my door stop, it won't hit it. Okay. Okay, so when I put this door on, I just put really small shims along the bottom just to give it a little clearance. These are these tapered shims. So I just went in, tried to get it even across the top, and so it swings really well, doesn't hit anything. And then I just bought these cheap hinges. And what I'm going to do is I didn't put all the screws in because I'm going to put some of those security screws in. I'm going to back these out. And basically security screws, what they are is you can only go one way. You can't back them out. So the slot in it is slanted on the left side when you go to turn backwards. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. But anyways, you can't, basically they're security screws. You can screw them in, but you can't back them out. So you got to make sure when you put them on that everything is correct. And then I'm going to go ahead and do this door. Put my hinges on this one, shim it, and these doors are pretty close to done. But one thing about this whole shed and the greenhouse, every screw, every nail, every board has been just me completely. One man show. So that's why it's taken so long. Okay, so now this is why I came back with this OSB, because this edge falls on this 2x4 right here. So it goes like this, just like that. And that's my stop for this door. Now I'm going to put, of course, some trim in here for door stop. I'll put trim in here, this side here, that side, and across the top. And then I'm going to actually be putting more flooring in here. So the flooring that I put in will act as my bottom stop. And also now for right now, I'm going to put this on right here. It's one of these, and it's just going to go up like this. I actually had it upside down like that. And I'm just going to drill a hole in this 2x4 right in here, and it'll go right on the door here like that and go right up into the edge of the 2x4, and that will hold the top of this door, because I won't be using both doors all the time. So for a latch, I just got the slide bolt latch. It just comes over, slides into this piece right here, like that. And it gets put on with these bolts here, but these bolts are not long enough, so I bought new bolts. I don't know, maybe they are. I bought new bolts anyways because these are really thin, and I bought some nice heavy duty ones. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on, and the door is going to be done for now until I get to the floor, and then I'll finish it up, and then of course painting and whatnot.